Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's December 11th. It's hard to believe this year is almost gone. We only have today's meeting and one more meeting before the end of the year for this year. Our agenda today is just like always. We'll start out with success stories. We'll then go to 30-second introductions. We'll have everybody enter that information into the chat window, and then we'll be able to publish all that information this afternoon in my email. We'll then go committee reports, hear about workshop, job fairs, pit crew, practice interview team, and then we'll share the career tip of the week, and then we'll go to our main event, hear our speaker today. For those people who are on Facebook, for those people who are on Zoom, I'm looking, there's somebody whose name is Catherine. I don't know who your last name is, and there's a way here to edit it. If you'll just hover over the mute more button, you should be able to come up with a selection that says rename yourself. That way, Catherine, I'll be able to capture your last name. Let me see if there's anybody else on here who doesn't have a full name. That's all I see right now. So Catherine, oh, there you go. Thank you, Catherine, for editing your name. So we've got everybody covered, so I can capture that information for the Texas Workforce Commission if they happen to contact me and you use us as a selection for your week's activities. If you have any questions throughout the day, we ask you to use the Zoom chat box. For those on Facebook, please just enter your comments into the comment field and we'll be glad to get your questions answered. I am monitoring that feed. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career FW Facebook page, and later this afternoon will be uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you happen to post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name, picture, and comments to appear. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group since 2007. The group's been around since late 1990s. I happened to take it over when the guy who was leading it said, I just landed, I have a job, who wants to take it over? I think I scratched my face. He said, okay, Jeff, you're it. So I've been leading the group ever since. In 2008, I started Career DFW to help people in the DFW area with their job search. In 2012, I launched CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It's available for $15 on Amazon, but if you want to drive by the house, throw $10 out your window, I will attempt to throw a book into your open window if you drive real slow for just $10. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Well, we like to start the meeting off with good news. Nobody contacted me this week, so I don't know of any early things, but if anybody has landed and you're on the call right now, please unmute your mic and let us know your good news. Do we have any landings this week? Anybody? Going once? Going twice? Okay, no landings this week. All right, well, we're still at 87 was our count from last week. 87 people have landed this year from this group. So keep plugging away. Don't stop just because there's only a couple weeks left in the year. All right, what we want everybody to do now is, if you will, open up the chat box. And like Roxanne and Stephen have already done, please put in your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, a couple target companies, and then hit the return key. And that way all that information will be together. And what I will do is I will capture all this information this afternoon or after the meeting, and I will put it out in an email to everybody this afternoon so you can try to help somebody on this list, because we all have contacts, we all know people at other places. Please put that information in there. So we used to have the Jeopardy theme, but somebody hit me up on a copyright violation last week. So I've deleted the Jeopardy theme. I guess I have to come up with some other kind of generic music. So hum it to yourself, and I'll give you a few I'll give you about 30 or 45 seconds to get that information into the chat box.
Jeff, do you suppose the copyright still applies now that Alex Trebek is dead?
I presume it still does, because
okay.
they hit me up on last week's, and I had to go edit the segment out of the YouTube video. So
the music industry is super tough about protecting their copyrights, and some musicians are like, no big deal, and some of them are like, if they hear one measure of one of their songs slam, they'll shut you down.
Right. So I'll have to go out and look for a generic version of that that's not copyrighted. So it'll give me something to do over the holidays. So we'll see what I can come up with us for the future. So if you will, put in your name, phone number, email address, position you're looking for, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. Everybody's doing a great job. There's Tom and Mike and Daniel, Laura, Michelle. For those people on Facebook, we have 4 or 5 people on Facebook right now. If you put the information into the comment field, I will capture that information and I will delete it right after this meeting's over, so it won't be sitting out on Facebook. So if you want to put that information in the comment field, we will get your name added to the roster, and we will get your email out to everybody this afternoon. Thank you, Nathan, for doing that online. Okay, let's see what's up next here. So up next, job and career fairs, training and workshops. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to everyone. I focus today on career and job fairs, training and workshops. The information that I'm about to convey to you comes from the website careerdfw.org. There it is now, and the calendar tab, specifically those 2 particular blocks on the calendar. But if you look at the calendar, you'll find that there's a lot more information in various tabs on there for you to know about your job search. This week's career and job fairs, nothing to report on career and job fairs, unfortunately, this week. However, special workshops or events. LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. online. This is with a rotating seminar with Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, or Kurt Vandemotter. Each week you'll hear one of those speakers. There's a Zoom link on the calendar for that, as well as a Facebook page for you to participate. Also online, interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. It's a special guest series going on. We're at the last of those. December 16th, Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. This week's topic is 10 biggest mistakes that people make in interviewing, and that's with Tony Bashera from Babbage and Associates. And if you've never heard Tony, he's a very interesting guy, very, very matter of fact, and he'll tell you what's on his mind. Also, Thursday, December 17th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., Resume Thursdays online sessions with Carol Brickell, certified professional career coach. There's a Zoom link online for that, and also a Facebook link. Interviewing, networking in a virtual world with Elizabeth Lyons, part of the St. Andrews Career Care meetings, Thursday, December 17th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And there is a link to find out. There is a Zoom link and a Facebook link on the calendar for participation in that as well. Virtual holiday networking mixer by the Asian Chamber of Texas will be held Thursday, December 17th from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And there is a registration link for that one as well. And finally, the Internet of Things Special Interest Group will be held December 18th, 2020 from 7:40 a.m. to 9 a.m. And there's a link for more information on that. If you're interested in the Internet of Things, that's really a great one-stop shop to network and to find out more about what's going on in this area and the world, for that matter, on the Internet of Things. And that's it for this week.
Great, thank you. And I will mention that at Thursday's Resume Thursday class, effective Resume Thursdays we're doing, Carol Brickell is going to be offering, she'll be giving away a 1-hour coaching session for free. So anybody who joins the session, you'll be able to pick a number between 1 and 100, and She'll pick a number and we'll see if it all matches up. And if you match, whoever comes closest, I think without going over, will win. So just wanted you to know about that. Jeff, I see you've got your hand up.
Thank you. May I mention one other event?
Yes.
Those of you that attended Absolutely Abby may have heard about this already, but there is an all-day virtual career fair in Atlanta, Georgia, being sponsored by the Roswell United Methodist Church. And I believe it's open to anyone, and I believe it's free. It's Monday, December 14th from 9 a.m. until like 5 p.m. Central Time. So if there's anyone interested, they might want to check it out.
Jeff, if you can find a link for it or something, if you'll put it in the chat box, I'll make sure I put it out on the email that goes out this afternoon.
Okay, I'll do it.
Thank you very much. All righty. Let me close that window and we're back to this. All right, Ellen, thank you very much. All right. If you're still trying to find a networking group that are holding a meeting online, please check out our webinar teleseminar calendar. It's in this purple color. Everybody who's meeting that I know about, I will tell you this, please, 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 over the next couple of weeks, check with the group before well, I guess you're not having to drive there, so you just go online, and if they don't show up, they don't show up. But, a lot of groups are not going to be meeting. They don't tell me they're not meeting. I've deleted the sessions that I know about. So if I know about it, I will delete them. But if I don't hear about anything, they will still appear there even on Christmas Day or New Year's Day or Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. Let's see here. If you know somebody who just lost their job, I guess in the last week, the unemployment numbers came out. Another 860,000 people filed for unemployment for the first time. So if you know somebody who just did that, please send them to Career to FW, Career USA. Have them click on, well, I just lost my job. What do I do now? I've got a great one-page handout with all sorts of great information on what to do, how to get yourself started, and what's going on. Sandra, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
When I've noticed that Careers in Motion is not in session, as well as the Career Jumpstart. Do you know what happened to those meetings?
Career Jumpstart is meeting on Tuesdays. They meet every other week now. They don't meet every week. I just had a long conversation with Catherine Bradford yesterday. I don't know about the other one, but I know I think Career Jumpstart has one more meeting for the year, and then they're done, and they're trying to decide what they're going to do next year because the numbers have been getting lower and lower. So, check. If you happen to find something out, please let me know.
Okay, and what about Careers in Motion? Have you heard anything back?
I do not know. I have not heard from them. So if you happen to find something out, please let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So as I tell everybody, you're the eyes and ears of the website. So if you see something, if you hear something, if you find out a group it's meeting, it's not meeting, please, 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 when you get the updated information, please let me know so I can follow up and make sure I get the website, as up to date as I can. All right, time to hear from the practice interview team. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning. Let me go ahead and post up this information in the chat window. There we go. I think it just went. There you go. So there's how to reach the pit crew in the chat window, and also how to find my LinkedIn profile. And I encourage you to link in with me, and we'll join our networks. And I've worked primarily in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so almost all my connections are here, and that'll help you with your networking and target companies and all that kind of stuff. The pit crew is going to be working through Christmas, and New Year's, although I don't expect too much activity. I already know of one person who's got an interview on January 4th, right after the holidays. And so we're going to try to practice the week before. And the pit crew is a group of volunteers. We meet on an ad hoc basis. So that means when you need a practice interview, we go to work to put together a group of interviewers. We call them panelists. They've all been hiring managers, and they take you through a very customized and personalized interview experience based on the job that you're interviewing for and your resume and your background, right? So that's how we help you to become better at interviewing. And my new thing for next year I'm starting now, is we're going to get you to the point where, answering the basics of interviewing, answering questions, being well prepared, anticipating what the interviewer may be interested in talking about, is becomes memorized, let's say, or becomes muscle memory for you, and you really focus during the interview on making a connection with the interviewer. So that will put you in, a different spot relative to the other candidates. I used to say we build your confidence, but it's really more about building your ability to focus on more important things. And it's not just your skills, abilities, and knowledge and what you did in the past. It's who you are and how you can help and how you make a connection with the interviewer. So that's what we'll get you to. It may take more than one visit though, so you're welcome to practice as often as you like. Practice early, practice often. And you don't have to have a specific job in mind. So you can just come and practice to help, build your skills towards this level of being able to work on connections during the interview against a kind of generic job description, or maybe even your dream job description. It doesn't have to be something that you're engaged in, and you don't have to wait, until you have an interview on Wednesday to reach out to me on Monday. So, go ahead and get an interview scheduled, and we'll start you along this path of being a better interviewer. And to do that, send me an email at dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. There it is right there on the card, dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. And I'll send you more information about how to get involved, just a brief email. I've got a boilerplate email that'll answer a lot of your questions. And let's see, it's been a slow week this week, 2 practice interviews. So, but we have 2 scheduled for Monday already. And so we could probably do 2 or 3 more. So take advantage of the opportunity and come and practice with the pit crew. Thanks. Now, I guess one other thing I want to mention is, besides doing the pit crew, I coach a little bit, and I coach on this question. Only one question, I'm an expert in it. Why did you leave your last job? So I'm claiming expertise in that. And sometimes that's very straightforward, but sometimes it's not. And it may not be the last job. It may be, back in 2008, when the economy was so bad. I talked to a lot of people who had a series of short-term engagements, not even a year long, 2 or 3 of them in a row. And so we can talk about that as well, because people may be curious about what was going on there. And so you want to handle that with brevity and confidence. So send me an email. We'll set up a call, and we'll have a confidential discussion about your situation. And we'll answer the first question. We'll figure out how to answer that first question. Why'd you leave your last job? Or tell me about this time in your work history. But we'll also talk about how to answer any follow-up questions that may be generated based on your situation and circumstances. So no charge for any of that, no charge for the coaching, no charge for the interviews. Please take advantage of what we have to offer. Thanks.
Great, Mark. Thank you very much. And I've got something I want to talk with you after the meeting about. I had an interesting conversation. If people open up their participant box and click on the green yes, if you've had this happen to you, have you gone and had an interview where they do this on-camera interview and they have you answer a question? You've got 30 seconds to come up with the answer. You can replace, you can re-record your answer. You can only talk for up to 3 minutes. Anybody had to do one of those pre-recorded things before where you get stuck doing it? See, Todd's done it. Who else? I see a couple green check marks. Well, I was talking yesterday with somebody, a lady who owns one of these programs, and she has offered to give us a free version of it. So Mark, if you're interested, this would be something that maybe you could do a pre-interview before you actually do if people will fess up and want to do a real interview with you, you can come up with some interview questions, have them do a pre-interview beforehand that you can see their videos. And so we'll talk more about that after.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea.
It was, I asked her if she would give us, a version of it that we could use so that, because she says, great. I mean, I want job seekers to be better at doing this. So I think this will be an interesting, a little thing. And like I said, Mark, we'll talk more about this after the meeting. So,
Yeah, thanks.
all right. Thanks, everybody. 9 people have had that happen to you. Well, for those who haven't, the rest of you probably will have it happen to you in the future because it seems to be more and more popular, and it's not very expensive for a firm to use. Okay, it's time for the career tip of the week. Walt's not with us today. The interview success workshop, he's, I think, busy through the end of the year. So if you want to do something for the interview success workshop, you'll have to wait till beginning of next year to get in there. But let's go on to the tip of the week. Roxanne, good morning.
Good morning. Hi, everyone. The tip of the week is this hiring manager says she will only hire people who stop and do this in an interview, by Una Debonero. It can be difficult to pin down exactly what interviewers are looking for from a job candidate. There are heaps of interview advice articles floating around online, often giving detailed advice on how to sell yourself. In the past, reading these articles has made me feel like a robot who's being judged on how well they can synthesize a bunch of tips and tricks by another robot. But the truth is, your interviewer's human impression of you goes a long way. Unless you make a true faux pas or really can't get your value add across, and those are mistakes you can avoid by reading detailed advice online. It's the first impression that matters the most. That's why I love the criteria Samantha Moss, editor and content ambassador at Romantic, sets for the candidates she interviews. For Moss, it's not about how quickly a job candidate can make a case for themselves or how much they know it all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. As someone in charge of hiring in our company, the only thing I look for in an interview is how an applicant pauses before answering a question, Moss shared with Fairy God Boss. Moss says this gives her a strong impression of someone's interest in that role. This reveals how deep in thought the applicant is and if they are really serious about getting the position. An applicant who isn't really interested in a position would not pause to think too much. Rather, they would rush to answer. On the other hand, when an applicant really, really likes the position, they would pause, and you could see on their faces that they are really thinking about what they'll tell you so that they can give you the best possible answer. Moss would probably advise you to take time to really parse out what your interviewer wants and answer their question thoughtfully, instead of using a script or bursting out into statistics from your resume. In other words, it's okay to not have it all figured out before you take that dive. That's a career tip of the week, and good luck, everyone.
I think you've heard Walt talk about this. You've heard Mark talk about this. It's okay to pause. And when I saw this, it was like, oh man, this is just a great article, So, as she said, I really like to emphasize it. The one thing I look for in an interviewer is how the applicant pauses before answering a question. It's okay to take a pause. Don't feel, that a few seconds of silence is okay. So just know that. I just think it's, it's really, really, really important. Okay, coming up here in just a few minutes, we'll hear from John Poe talking about tracking network leads with Excel, just a little bit of basics on Excel, and then we'll get into, building a spreadsheet, and he'll show us how to do that. Coming up next Friday, and I can't believe it's the last Friday that we're going to be meeting on Friday the 18th. As we've done the last several years, we'll be talking about taxes, what you need to think about when you're unemployed. There's a few things that Susan Holly will talk about. She's a senior certified tax consultant with H&R Block. And I know that she's done some of our members' taxes in the past. She can represent you in front of the IRS, not that anything she's going to do is get you in trouble with the IRS unless you fibbed about something. But it's always an interesting presentation. She always likes to go to the very last Friday of the month because you never know what Congress is going to do the last couple of weeks of the year that will change what happens and things you need to think about for your taxes. So I know last year there were big tax changes. I do know there's one nice little feature for donations that anybody who files and you do not itemize your taxes, there is a deduction you can take above the line meaning you can adjust your overall taxes by this one thing, and we'll talk about that next week. We will not have sessions on Christmas Day or New Year's Day for obvious reasons. I mean, I'll be here. There won't be much going on, but I figure that most people will not want to attend those days. So have a happy holiday. And then our next meeting will be on the first Friday of the month. That is not a holiday. So on January 8th, we will have open forum. And then I'm lining up, I've got speakers lined up for January, and I'm starting to book February speakers right now. Just another reminder, Yahoo groups are going away as of Tuesday. So if you're not part of our Yahoo group, if you've been part of the Yahoo group and you have not joined the new group at groups.io, you need to join. I will send out invitations to the new people right after this meeting's over. And for those people, I will send out invitations for everybody who have not joined. Currently, like 200 people have joined our group. Our Yahoo group had over 1,500. You know, if you want to find out about upcoming programming for Career DFW and the North Dallas Focus Group, please accept the invitation. Please follow what you need to do when we do this. So we're going to groups.io. I know there are other career groups out there that are going to Google Groups. I went with groups.io because it's almost exactly like Yahoo Groups. It was actually written by the same people who wrote Yahoo Groups. So it follows pretty much the same kinds of formatting, the same emails. It works very well, very quick. So I'm going to ask it also, if you're part of a Google group, if you're part of a groups.io or a Google group, in the chat box, if you will, list the name of that group, because I'm having a hard time finding Google groups. I think a lot of people are setting up their career groups as private groups. And so if you're part of a Google group that's career related, I need to rebuild my network. I had about 45 different groups in the DFW area. I know many of them have gone away. You know, like I said, those are all going to go away as of Tuesday. And I'm trying to build a new list so I can publicize what we're doing. So watch for an email if you haven't joined. Otherwise, you should be getting emails from the new group. And like I said, Yahoo groups as of next Tuesday. Bye-bye. All right, it's time for our main event from our speaker. John began his career as an information technology specialist for the last 15 years, and he's worked as a corporate trainer and lives in live and virtual environments. John works as a part-time adjunct professor for the Tarrant County College and runs his own business. John teaches Microsoft Office tools as well as other technical and software skills. John's most recent focus has been on grants to help people with their GED earn their MOS certificates in Microsoft Excel. This gives them those added skills and credentials for future employment. So today, John's going to talk about tracking network leads with Excel. So John, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much. I appreciate that today. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here today. One of the reasons I asked Jeff if I could work on this with you was that I was in multiple meetings from different groups, and when someone would talk about networking, inevitably someone would type in the chat, "Hey, can you share me a template of that so I can use that?" And sometimes they would, or sometimes it was they could not. So then therefore, at that point, they went ahead and did that. So what I was looking at was to basically say, hang on just a second. I was trying to get all my, there we go. Trying to get on here, Jeff, and I'm not saying show all my screens.
That's usually the first one, I think.
Okay, yeah, all right, I see it. I see it. It's got your picture in it. So when everyone has a when people ask this question, well, I'll just help you to build your own spreadsheet, because we all have our own desires and what we want in something. So we'll work on that today, and then part of the process, I'll also go give you some basic information on Microsoft Excel. Now, at different times throughout the session, I'll stop and ask you guys, do you have any questions? If you have questions that are on the topic we're talking about, let me know. If not, I may push you off a little bit if I'm going to cover that topic a little later. I'll actually push off and we'll cover it then. Okay, but hopefully so during this session, Jeff, you see my screen up here? Yeah. Well, you're going to identify the things that you should track, or you can decide that you should track on your system. We're going to test your knowledge with some basic spreadsheet terms, and then also some basic Microsoft Office terms. We'll demonstrate Excel commands for formatting a spreadsheet or ways of doing that. And then we'll practice creating the spreadsheet to track your leads. And then finally, I'll give you an opportunity, some of you, to share your design and what you put up here. Okay. Any questions on that?
I will let people know you need if you have a blank piece of paper or something you can write down. John's going to ask you a few terms here. Oh, here we go.
so get a piece of pen and paper. Then also hopefully a computer with Excel. So if you're on this line, you actually have a computer. If it has Excel, great. If you're using Google Sheets or something, that's fine too. Just be aware that I'm using Microsoft Excel. Then what we want you to bring is your creative and collaborative mind, because the idea behind a lot of this is we're going to learn from each other. If I think of 3 things and you think of 2 things I didn't think, I now have 5 things I thought we've thought of together. So first thing is how do you track your job leads today? If you would, please go ahead and write that in the chat. For some reason, Jeff, the chat is not showing. Will you go ahead and
Okay, yeah, I mean, people are
those-
using Excel. I track jobs and apply to an Excel. Somebody uses a day planner, email, and memory. Somebody else said in a notebook, a journal, Excel, in Word. A couple of people use Microsoft Word. A couple more Excel spreadsheet, and a calendar through job opportunities and websites and Google Contacts. And then somebody else put down folders. They've created folders, I guess, for everything they apply to.
All right, great. And so, yeah, the major ones I've seen in the past, and I've taught the class in live form since 2010, but some of the things that we talk about is business cards. I've actually had someone walk into a meeting with an 8.5 by 11 binder. If your kids ever collected baseball cards, or you did, and they had those places for putting all the baseball cards in the sleeves, I had someone walk into a meeting with every business card they've ever taken since they were on their job search. And I was kind of like, really? And how are you sorting those? Alphabetically, chronologically, or in order of importance? The pen and paper, old-fashioned situation there. Nothing wrong with that. And in fact, I use that some myself. In most meetings, I put everything in a pad, and I use the same pad until I fill it up. A journal. Some people actually put a journal, and they actually use a journal. They write everything they ever do in that same journal until they fill it up, and then they go on to the next thing. And Franklin Covey and others indicate that's really the way you should be treating your life, is having it all out there in one place, all written down by hand. That's great. I've tried journaling. It's a different way of doing things. It's just not mine. So, and then you might get, I didn't hear anyone on this one, but you might actually get as complicated as having a database of your own if you're an IT person. I've seen that in the past. Some groups like Jibber Jobber, I think is the name of it, actually have an online platform that you can put your different information in. So there's a couple of different ideas there. The one that's here that I'll mention, anybody know what this is? This is the job search log from Texas Workforce Commission, or it was a couple of years ago.
It
And,
still is. Everybody should know that.
So that's in 2009, 2010, when I would pose that question, people would say, I'm using the job search log for Texas, or for the Texas Workforce Commission. And I said, man, you could not come up with a worse thing to track your leads in, because they have fields that are used for more than one thing. And basically the form is not used to help you get a job. The form is there to just to, as a piece of administrivia to show you're doing something. So hopefully we can come up with something better than that. So, all right. Now, the first exercise we're going to cover here is we're going to do some basic terms. So this is where you get out your piece of paper and your pen, and I'll give you a number, and then you write down on your paper 1 through 7, and then 11 through 17. Now, I do know there's an 8, 9, and 10 in there. It's just that the first of these are generic, and the second piece of these are Microsoft specific. Okay. So number 1, what is any of those, are the cells, are these boxes on the screen, what are these called? Number 2, what's this up and down rectangle called? Number 3, the going across, what is that called? I have a box here at the top that has an A1 in it. What do they call that, or what is it used for if you don't know its exact name? What is this area used for? And then what is the little FX there in the line that's right beside it? All right. Oh, did I get every one of them? And oh, at the very bottom, the item moved across the top of it. What is the item down here at the bottom called? All right. So each of the items inside a spreadsheet, whether it's Excel or it's Sheets or it's Open Office, is called a cell. The up and down, or the vertical is these are called columns. Going across is rows. This is called the name box. And so I can actually give a name to a specific cell, or if I were to type in that inside that column B712, it would take me down to row 712 and highlight that row in row B for me. So that if I know where I'm going, like if I've got almost a full year's contacts in there and it's over 1,000 items, let's say, I know the person I want in the second half of the year. So I might put 600 in there as a starting point and say A600 and then go further down from there. This is align text, and one of the things or the reason I put it on here really is in Word, many of us are used to doing left, right, and center alignment, but in Excel, you've also got top, middle, and bottom there. So you're actually aligning your information in 2 directions. I like to have my headings as bottom aligned, but everything else top aligned, and that's just how I go about doing it. All right, this is the formula bar. So if you're going to do some calculations where you're counting the number of items, or you're doing a sum of values, you would put those formulas or functions in there to make that happen. And then finally at the bottom here is where we add additional sheets. Now, as we get into creating this, some people may want to put everything on one sheet, and that's fine if you want to do it that way. but then you're either repeating information or you're leaving it off possibly in some cases, and you got to go hunt for it. So there may be cases where you want to put some information on one sheet and another on a separate sheet. Okay. Any questions on this one?
I think you're good.
All right. The next group we're going to deal with here now is specific for Microsoft Excel. And let me say in this one, I'm not talking down to anyone. I don't mean that. Most everybody on this call probably knows what a row and a cell and a column is. If you don't, that's fine too. But I have people who have never used computers that I teach over for the college. And so this is their first time on a computer. And we have to tell them what a right and a left mouse button is. So, you know, I teach to all levels. All right. Number 11 here. What is this big area at the top of the screen called? Now this little subset right here where you can see the file, home, insert, page layout, formulas, etc. What is that called? And these items at this level, I have the styles highlighted, but there's also the clipboard, font, and alignment there. This has a specific name for each of these. And then what is this is each of these little icons, they have a name as well. On the bottom right corner of many of across the bottom, you'll see a little indicator. In this case, I've got the one in alignment highlighted. What does this do, or what is this called? Yeah, you might need the glasses for that one. Okay. This particular item right here where it says file has a specific name that the only people that use it is in Microsoft publications or on Microsoft training. And so you're probably not going to see it anywhere else, but it's good to know, since we're getting into this particular tool, what the company calls it. And then finally, we're down here at the bottom where it says ready. What do we call that? All right. So this area at the top here is called the ribbon. And this is how you navigate inside Microsoft Office tools. This is true whether you're in Excel, you're in Word, you're PowerPoint. They all use the same navigation theme to go about it. So when they say look up in the ribbon, they're saying look up in this area at the very top. The second item is the tabs. So if I'm wanting to insert a picture on something, I would click on the Insert tab, and that would show me the things I can insert into my spreadsheet, the different types of modules. The next item here are groups. So, and the reason that this is kind of important is because if people get lost, I tell them how I'm going to explain how you get back. I'm going to tell you that we're on the Insert tab, we're on the Table group, and we're on the Insert Table command. So if they get lost, that gives me a way of getting them back and talking with a common language to them, because the final thing is the command here. So those three steps, the tabs, the groups, and commands, allow you to communicate exactly where you're at and help someone navigate to it. Now, I worked at help desk for 5 years, and I eventually ran that department. But being able to communicate on the phone how to do something for somebody, that being able to be real crisp on it is very clear. All right. The item at the bottom is the dialog launcher. So if you don't see it on the ribbon, but it's in that area, you may have to go to the dialog launcher, and you'll have additional things that you can work with from there. and the Microsoft specific name for this tab is called the Backstage. And they used to have in 2007 when it first came out, they had a round button there you had to click to get to the Backstage. And one of my first classes, someone was saying, "Gosh, what happened to the File tab? Where did that go? And what is that silly circle there?" And I go, "That funny you should ask. That answers both those questions." So they did get rid of that in 2010. I thought that was very good of them, because that was having taught people who had never used the tool before. Trust me, that was an area for confusion. And then finally, this is the status. And so if I have a status, right now it says ready, but if I had a group of numbers that are out there and I highlighted those cells, it would actually tell me the sum, the average, and the min, max, etc. of that group of cells that I had highlighted. So that can be really helpful for you. Any questions on the Microsoft specific items that we've covered here?
None in the chat box.
Okay, great. So this is just a listing of the things that we covered. I'm gonna leave it up here for just a second in case you missed one or you want to grab it on your own. Most of you already have that, so it's really not a big deal, but there we go. All right, so now it's time for, I'm going to do a little demo. If you want, go ahead and bring up Microsoft Excel yourself. And so when I hit what I did was I hit the Windows button here, and I type in EXCEL. Now this, whether I have the icon on the screen or not, this allows me to bring it up, and I can just simply hit the Enter key and launch that. And that opens up Excel, which in this case I will bring me up a brand new blank workbook. The one thing I will mention as I'm going through this, our screens will not look identical in many cases. Let me pose in a chat, how many of you are using Office 365? If you're saying, if you use 365, put a yes in there. If not, you'll be and then those of you that are using 2016 or 2012 or whatever, go ahead and put that in there as well if you like.
Lots of yeses, some 2012s and 2016s. We've got Excel, we have 2010 also.
Yeah, so 2010
somebody also put down yes for Mac.
Yeah, and so if somebody comes up with 2012 or something, that's the Mac. And so the Mac release comes out on different years usually than the Windows version. First time I found out that anyone was using it actually was someone said, "Hey, I just uploaded 2012 or 2011 or something." And I said, "Well, there is no 2011." And he said, "Yeah, there is." And I found out they were using a Mac. And so the Mac is very similar. There are distinct differences, not the least of which is the fact you don't have a control key. And so you have other keys on the Mac keyboard that replace that. Some of the function keys are not the same. So I've had people walk into a class that we're teaching a grant and they had to do work at home. They walked in with a Mac and we were setting them up, and they had problems. So if you're going into a class and they're teaching Windows, it probably behooves you to go ahead and get the Windows version. The Mac will have enough differences. It'll probably confuse you, okay? So at the top, I noticed here's the tabs I talked about. The File tab or the Backstage takes us out here, and this is where we can do the behind the scenes stuff. I can create a new spreadsheet, I can save it, I can publish it, I can put it in different formats. So there's lots of things I can do here. I can hit the escape key or the back button and it brings me back to here. The home tab for most of what we'll do today will be here. But if I'm looking for other things, these categories come in here allow us to bring up different things. I mentioned insert. So if I want to put a picture at the top, I can go ahead and come out here and select the illustrations and place a picture on there or a shape or something else. I have the draw tab because I have a touch screen. If you do not have a touch screen, you will not see the draw tab. The other thing that's here is with 365, they made it ugly. In fact, if I go back over here to the insert illustration for pictures, at one point they showed a graphic with a black sun, and the joke was running around, on what planet do we have a black sun? But the idea behind this is Microsoft is always trying to get something that will work from everything from a cell phone to a tablet to a computer and everything in between. And so they're trying to make these graphics very simple. Unfortunately, it makes them harder to spot. So there are some differences that will be here, but they're for the most part very much the same. Page layout allows me to format the screen differently, vertically or horizontally, as well as putting a background in there if I want to. The formulas gives me a list of the different formulas that are here. The auto sum ones are probably the ones that about 80% of the time you're going to be using if you're doing simple spreadsheets calculations, which includes sum, average, count, the high and low of a given range, etc. And then the other ones are just simply broken down by category. And so if you're looking for something, look for the category or look out here for more functions and see some additional categories that are out here. There is some functionality in 365 that is not in 2016 or 19. But with that said, we're not going to cover that today. So that's not something you really have to worry about. All right. And so everything else is this. The only other thing I'll mention is the help on the right-hand side. In Excel, you have contact-specific help. So in this case, you can go ahead and type if I'm putting in a function, let's say, if I click on the FX, I can look at, let's say VLOOKUP. This tells me what I want. If I click on this help, it'll take me out to that particular function. If I was entering it manually, it would also take me out there. Now here's the rub. In early versions, 2007, 2010, 2003, all this, you kept a subset of the help on the computer. With 2013 and beyond, they assume everybody has network connectivity. If I'm doing something on an airplane, until recently, I didn't have network connectivity on the plane. So that is something to keep in mind. And then, of course, I do teach some people for the college that don't have internet at home. And so, if you're trying to work with them on something after hours, then that makes that more difficult for you as well. I'll pause for a moment to see if anyone has any specific questions.
Somebody did type, let's see here. Somebody did type a keyword in the search, and sometimes it will land on what you're looking for. So yeah, if you're not, there was just a suggestion, I guess.
Yeah, and on they added to some of the screens. I don't know. I probably don't have it showing here, but there used to be a how do I do something, and you could actually type something in there. I don't think I have it visible on this one. I may have removed it just simply to get it out of my way for simplicity. And like I should probably remove the draw, except I occasionally will use it on PowerPoint, things like that. But I probably should remove it from here just to make it simpler for those students there. Move this out here if I want to. There we go. All right, so if you're using the screen, again, we can use the arrow keys to go left, right, up, and down. If the response time will come on. There we go. I can also use the tab and the shift tab to go backwards and forwards with on as far as that's concerned. So you can navigate between items there. if I'm writing inside of a text, say I realize, oh, I'm typing in the wrong thing. If I hit the backspace, it deletes things going to the left. If I use the delete key, it deletes things going to the right. So when you're addressing items here, I can take out the items there, and then I can put text, whatever. Okay. If you're entering something, you decide, oh, I made a mistake, I'm putting that in the wrong key, until you hit the enter key, or nothing is permanent. So you can hit the escape key and go ahead and get out of that. And my response time seems to be in the pits. And of course, if you get off of it and you hit the, you can also got the undo button at the very top. You can click to get rid of it. All right, so we've got navigating the items here. I mentioned that you saw in the screen there was adding a sheet. Microsoft now only gives you one sheet as a starting point. Thank God, finally, because it used to give you 3 as default, but most people only use 1 at a time in most of their work. And candidly, having 3, if I knew I stuck something on sheet 2 or sheet 3 of a file somewhere, I ended up having to open up all these different files to find them. So I set my options on the home tab to 1. So my default is setting to 1 now. And one of the reasons I did that was so that I would not have to worry about that. And you can modify items here. I would not have to look at sheet 2 and sheet 3. If I only had 1 sheet in there, I knew that's all there was to look at. Okay. So we've navigated around here. We've talked about the tabs. Again, the groups are here at the bottom. So if I'm talking about if we're talking about formatting a cell as numeric, I might come over to the number tab. And then if you're looking for something that you don't see it here, I can go ahead. This one has a pull down on it. So look for these. And so we got options here. This little dialog launcher that we talked about, at the bottom right of most of these groups, click on it, and it will bring up the different items here. In this case, here's our number formatting. Notice when I select on number, it gives me a variety of different ways I can format that. And so I've got currency, I've got accounting, I've got time and date. So we have a number of ways we can format these cells so that they'll tell us what we want. In a date, if I'm putting dates in a column, I may want it to be the short date, and then I want everything to be consistent, 2 month, 2 day, 2 year, and then in the middle, I'll highlight that in the middle to make it stand out a little more. So I'll center that entire column. All right, so there's playing around a little. Anybody have any additional questions on the spreadsheet itself, on the basic navigation or items there?
Somebody asked, would you show how to rename a sheet? So if you had multiple sheets in a spreadsheet, you would show us how to rename that.
Absolutely. So in this case, I can double click here, and that highlights it to, I can type and say activity on this one. If I go ahead and add another, and I'll hit the enter key to make that permanent, I can add a second sheet by clicking it on here. I'm going to make that permanent because the other way I can do this is I can right click on here, and then I can do rename. So if depends on what floats your boat as far as items here, I can rename this and I can say contacts or something like that. I can also then change the color of it, and so I can change my tab color. I glance off to my right here just simply because I have another screen here. So if I'm seeing a lag time, I want to make sure that you can see what I'm trying to put up here. So you can change the color, you can change the names, you can change a little bit, you can move things around. Okay.
And then you can also, if you want, you could pull sheet 2 to be the first sheet by just dragging it over, right?
Yes, yeah, and that's true of not only just the sheets, but also of data itself. So if I wanted to move this, see how it became a little icon here? I can now move that to here, and now that moves to the left there.
So if somebody had, company names on one sheet and all the details, and then contact people on another sheet, this way you could drag things back and forth to whatever, to make it easy to whatever you're working on.
Yeah, exactly. And you, as an example, when we go into the new year, I may just copy a sheet and make a new sheet. I may not want it on the far right. It's a brand new year. I want to bring this up. This is my New Year's data. So I want to put it on the far left. Another good example. Okay. Anything else, Jeff?
That's all I see right now.
Okay. All right, great. All right. Now, the next question is, how do we really decide what data we want to collect? And, we're talking about putting together something that will help you to get your job immensely. But in order to answer that question, you get to decide. But what I want you to do on your piece of paper is make a list of the data items that you want to include in your worksheet. In a few minutes, I'm going to call around to those that are here and ask them to go ahead and identify some of the items that they have in their list. So write down on the paper what some of the things you're going to have in your list. All right. All right, so as we go through this, I'm just going to kind of go down through some of the participants here. If you would please just give us one of the things you have on your list. Daniel Wilcox, go ahead and unmute. What is something you have on your list?
We'll let everybody know the easiest way to unmute your mic if you're on a piece of your Mac is just hold down the space bar, and you'll be able to answer temporarily. You don't have to go and unmute yourself. But
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, Beverly or Bill? Yes, are you there? All right. Beverly, why don't you give us one yourself? All right, so let's try this a different way. Go ahead and you give me a couple of the items that you have on your screen. Just take a pause and let sing out.
yeah,
here.
people are just some people are just putting it in the chat box. That'll work. Yeah, or if you want to mute your mic, go ahead. You can.
I've got.
I can give you a few.
Okay, Ellen, go ahead.
All right. I'd like to have date, company, position.
Okay.
Date, company, job title, contact name, and notes.
Okay. So, all right. I'll give a couple there. Someone else, go ahead and give us a couple more.
A follow-up date.
Email address.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just a date to follow up.
Follow up. Okay. An important item there, because if you agree to talk to somebody in 2 weeks, they expect you to call them. They're not looking for a job. You are. Go ahead for the next person.
Carolina on Facebook said status.
Status. Very good. Yeah. Is it something I'm open and working on? Is it something that's urgent? However you want to declare the status, that's great.
Yeah, she put down applied or pending were her couple things that she added on.
Apply, a pending, yeah, open, closed, whatever you want to say. All that's good for what you have here.
Thank you note.
Thank you
Thank you
note.
note.
Yeah.
Good answer.
So we can have a thank you note. And
Who
then
referred?
referred, and so is that a person's name or a checkbox?
Right, the person who referred me to
Okay.
that person or company.
Okay, the person referred by.
Several people have mentioned the requisition number or posting number, but also sometimes they assign you a candidate ID.
Yeah, those are
Okay.
two good fields to have.
Yeah, something where you can get back to it. So I know when I'm responding to something and I'm sending out tailored resumes, I'll actually put the name of the company and my name both on the customized resume I send out, because if I get a call that says, "Hey, this is so and so from Linux," and I'm like, we're going to talk to you about such and such. If I replied to them 6 weeks ago, it's not easy to find that sometimes. So, all right, anyone else?
Cover letter.
Cover letter. And so did I send the cover letter? Yes. Is that a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, a cover letter, yes. And when we talked to HR people, at one point they were saying about 50% said they looked at them and it was important. And about 50% said they didn't look at them and it wasn't important. So I almost always include a cover letter if there's a place for it. If there's not a place for it, then there's not. So we'll go from there. Someone else.
Do we have phone number, email, website?
Phone number, email, website. And so all that's important and good. So that's why we're putting these in the chat. And I'm talking some to this as well, was because this is the part I was talking about earlier where we get that synergy going on.
Somebody, Susan in the chat box listed how the lead was found. I mean, we sort of talked about that name of the networking person, but instead of the networking person, you could be listing, instead you could list the website name or the job board name that you found it on.
Yeah,
So,
you could say source or something, and that source could be a person's name or it could be a career finder. And so,
right.
absolutely.
How about the response from the company?
Response from the company, yeah. So did they respond to me or not? If I've got a client that I did a lot of work for a few years ago, I think his business changed and he's no longer employing trainers anymore. I did a lot of work for him, but now he doesn't even return my calls. So it's kind of like, yeah, I guess I'm done with that client. With another one, I unfortunately had signed a do not compete with someone. So when things changed in that arena, I couldn't work for Lockheed because of the non-compete. And so it's good to know if there's people are returning your calls. Okay.
I've got multiple columns in here with like dates. One is like a lot of times when I'm reaching out or when I'm applying for a job or when I'm trying to set up a networking so that, and then the actual day that I have something scheduled
Right.
is something else. Because it just helps me follow up with whether or not somebody's gotten back with me or whether, so I don't lose track of who I've reached out to.
Yeah, and you can even use those dates or some field like that as kind of a stepping stone for your own process for how things kind of normally adjust. And so as things are filled out, you can see that option or that contact has gone, taken a couple of additional steps towards completion. Great. All right, so if you have any others, go ahead and type them into the end of the chat session. And I'm going to go ahead and all right, so that's the last item I have here on my slides. I forgot to put an in slide. So at this point, I'm going to go back over here and let me minimize that window. Here we go. All right. So if I'm going to go ahead and in here, I'm going to put in my networking sheet the title here. And then I'm going to come down here and I'll put down company, person, name, date. I'm keeping this generic intentionally. Okay. And so that's probably enough for right now for me to demonstrate what I want. I can go over here and on the right hand side, select that row. Notice that that's selected. I can now make it bold. If I have something else I want to do that's not shown here on the ribbon, I could go ahead and hit the dialog launcher again and brings me up to other options like strike through or double strike through and things like that that give me that capability. I'm going to put in here Jeff Morris and Sandra Thomas. So those are companies. I'll put over in the other one. Sandra Thomas.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
How do you make the writing fit the cell? How do you wrap the cell?
Good question. And so I'll do that in just a second. I'm going to put a couple more things in here. Career DFW and let's say Lockheed. All right, now I've intentionally put some things that will overlap here. Let me zoom in here a little bit more. I did that by holding the control key down and using the mouse wheel. And so if I want to make these so that they will fit, one of the things I can do here is this button at the upper left-hand corner selects all cells and all rows. I can click it and select everything, or I can select the specific columns I want. Select the first one, hold the shift key down, select the last one, and that selects these items here. To make this wider as your widest item or as thin as your widest item, I could now move my mouse in between two columns. Now notice when I moved it down here, it's got a big plus sign, but when I go between the A and the B, it now has something slightly, it has a line with two arrows. When I double click on this, the items that I have highlighted are now going to get as large as the largest item. And so now we see that they've now set themselves to a wider level. If I want to deal with a specific cell, I can highlight this cell and drag it to the right. And notice that the width here is coming up as I drag it a little bit. So if I wanted to make it a specific thing, I can. Any other questions on that?
There's also a wrap text button at the top in the ribbon. How would you use that?
Yeah, there is. And so if I put, let me put contact date here. Okay. And I'll put in this one, I'll go ahead and put status. Okay. So if I want to, I can go ahead and highlight that row. And remember I said earlier, I like all my stuff highlighted at the top. So I'm going to highlight everything and make it top aligned. And then I'm going to make this particular row here where the headings are, I'm going to make that bottom aligned. And so in order to make this come out, I can go ahead on the top, go ahead and click on the home tab, the alignment group. There's a command here called wrap text. And so I can go ahead and click the wrap text and it will change that to notice that the items here now with that bottom alignment has changed the item there. In this case, since I added status everything else, I'll come out here and just do that single column, move it out a little bit more so it all shows. I may have, there we go. response time is a bit slow. So I'm going to kind of move past that a little bit just so I don't have everybody hanging on waiting for the response time here. Okay. Any other questions like that?
John, I missed the part where you made the cells bigger. How did you do that?
Okay. So if I wanted to make a cell wider, I can select that cell, go to the right-hand side of that cell, or if I'm doing it to a couple of them, I can do the opposite there. I can go ahead and hold my left mouse button down and drag it to the right.
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about from columns A to K and rows 1 to 12. How did you zoom in on that section of the spreadsheet?
How did I make things bigger?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's talking about zooming in on that section of the spreadsheet. Down there in the lower right-hand corner, there is a little drag bar. You can drag it back and forth.
Right. And so that drag bar is a zoom in and out down here at the very, very bottom right. The other way that I do it, because as an instructor, it's really nice to be able to do this. I hold the control key down with my left hand. I use the mouse wheel with my right on my mouse, and that moves it in and out. And then you can also, in Excel, there's anything you do in Excel, you can do 3 different ways. So I'm going to go to the View tab. You'll notice there's a zoom out here. I could change it this way as well. So.
Yeah, and when you do that, you can see that the little slider down in the right corner is also moving in coordination.
Right. Okay.
Very cool.
John, I also noticed that to get smaller, you hold down the shift key and the control key and hit minus.
Yeah, and you can do that as well. So the minus and so that, like I say, anything we do in Excel, we can do at least 3 different ways. And because the first time when I first taught this class, the first time I had people who stand up and going, well, I don't do that way. And I'm going, okay, I'm okay with that. But you don't do it the same way I do it. No, I'm okay with that. So there's always multiple ways to do it. And sometimes it's confusing. And some people say, I wish there was just one way. Well, no.
Some people like hotkeys, some people like mouse. Everybody likes something a little different. So that's why it's good there are different ways.
Yeah, and my vision is worse than most of the people on the screen. So those hotkeys I take a large advantage of simply because I don't see the icons as easy as some people do. So today's the 11th. I'll put the 1211 in there. Notice the default here was the ugliest date format in the universe. So it's always good to highlight this. But if I have I meant to put that contact date, but that's okay. It works just as good in this cell here. In this case, if I'm going to do the formatting, I'm going to go to the home key. I can come over here to the numbers group, click on this, and I can now select the short date. Let's get the dates up here, and we can get to something like a short date, and that gives us a format that we can adjust on this one. And again, if I have another field out here, I'll put a comment field. Okay, and check with Tim on this. Now, in this case, if I have a column that's supposed to be dates, let's say, I want to, if I have a consistent format like this, I'll go ahead and center align it on that. And notice it gives you a little bit of space on the left, a little bit of space on the right. And that way you don't have to worry about whether it's a text on one side and a number on the other or whatever. It just puts it square in the middle. Now, most of us think of text things as a left aligned, and we think of numbers as right aligned. So that default is going to be okay. But for me, a date, putting it in the middle just makes it easier for me to see it see that column of data better.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Could you show that one more time, how to change the date format, please? You went up to home, and then what did you do?
Right. So there's 2 ways, or more, at least 3 ways to remember. One way is click on the home. You have a pull down right here on the number tab. So home tab, number group. there's a pull down right here, and it has short date. And so that's normally what way I select it. But if I'm looking for other options, I can come over here and click the dialog launcher. And notice I have lots of options, and not one of which is, let's say, Wednesday, March 14th. If I wanted it to be totally that format, I could highlight that. It goes with the plus sign, pound signs. What does the pound sign mean? It means the column's not wide enough to fit a number. It'll truncate text because you're easy to understand that. But if you truncate a number might be 101, or it might be 10,143. So if you truncate a number, you're liable not to understand the value that's actually in it. So I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side, double click that. Notice it's expanded out to bring in Friday, December 11th, 2020. Now I'm highlighting that cell for a specific reason, because as it's being displayed here, you can see all these words. Notice up here in the formula bar, this is the actual data. So the data is still 12/11/2020, but because I've done the formatting differently, the formatting comes out like a full number, date, and the day of the week and all that.
Thank you. Can you also show how you highlighted the row at the top for all the headers and then bolded them? I know where the bold is, but since we can't see your mouse, I didn't know how to, do that.
I'm sorry, because when I do go to the select, the mouse does become much smaller, and I have a relatively big mouse, but when I do this one, it does become smaller. So if I'm highlighting a column, I'm going to click on the column identifier, the ABC at the top, and that selects the column from row 1 down to 1,040,040 or something like that. If I highlight a particular row, I come over here. In this case, I'll highlight row 3. I can go ahead and make it bigger or smaller, or change the size of it or whatever. And that goes from A over to double Z or whatever comes out there. That's about 16,000 now, as far as the width is concerned. So I can make this just a little bit bigger, etc.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And again, in this case, I'll just center align the titles just for the fun of it. Okay. Now notice on this one, column A, I will mention one thing. I should have made this name much wider when I originally set it up and made it wide. It made it as wide as the widest item, which in this case was networking sheet. If I wanted this to be skinnier, I can manually drag it back across. But sometimes that heading is very, very wide. And so suddenly your first column, which might have a date in it or something like that, that then gets us into that arena. Okay, so you may have to adjust them to make them look what you want. Fortunately, if I have nothing in B, it'll just let that go ahead and lapse over there into the other column so I can see everything. Any other questions?
How would you put a column in alphabetical order?
Okay, let me push that off a little bit, because I'll do it in just a minute, and we'll go from there. Okay. Actually, I'll do it one way now. I tell you what, now I'll get to the other way when I get down to it. I mean, I'm moving something out of my way here real quick. Okay.
John, did we already discuss wraparound?
We did to a certain degree. So if I wanted this to a cell to wrap, that's how I did with contact date here. That's all on one line, but I highlighted the row and clicked on wrap text in the home tab, the alignment group.
Okay.
And so that causes that text to wrap in that case.
Click on short text. Okay.
Okay. Now, being as there's multiple ways to do something, the easiest way to sort something, I'm going to put Adam Adams here.
Oh,
he's from the Ace Company. Okay. Because I just realized Jeff is, if I sort on name now, Jeff is going to be at the top and nothing will change. I can highlight a particular column and I can say, click on sort and filter, sort A to Z, and notice it puts Adams at the top and that I'm there. So Jeff's information stayed with him. One thing is that if you highlight a group of cells, but you don't highlight everything, it will only sort the things you have highlighted. So be aware of that. It'll default to trying to sort everything. If I leave a blank column out here, it may not sort everything. So make sure you understand, you have highlighted what you want sorted and you don't leave things out if they're not. We'll show a couple more of those as we move further into the session. Okay. Other questions? Anything on Facebook, Jeff?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. Now, the next piece I'm going to show you is not in the basic Excel. It's actually in most of the textbooks. If it's mentioned, it's in the advanced book, but it's relatively easy. And for something like this, it works really nice. I'm going to select a single cell inside the data that I've got here. And so, and what I can do now is on the home tab, notice there's a little command over here that says format as a table. So I'm going to click format as a table here. Maybe. There we go. Not sure what was going on there. It lets me now select the table type I want. Notice there are light, medium, and dark table formats. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one just simply because it's kind of one I like. And I select it. Notice it tells me at this point, what is it going to include? It's going to include A3 to E6. If I didn't leave a blank line here, it would have also included row 1 for me. So you have, again, make sure you're picking up what you want. My table already has headers, so I'm going to leave that checked. If it didn't, it would give me a set of column names here when I get done for a place to put it. Excuse me, got the hiccups. So I'm going to say OK to that. And notice this now brings back the table. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit because I'm now busily entering information here. And it will add another line for me. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do at this point, we're going to put you back in the lab here for a little bit because you see me play around with this a little bit. We'll take about 5 minutes. Go ahead and put your items in your spreadsheet the way you want them to be. So over in the chat, we have a list of columns. So if you're not thinking what fields you want, you can go back over here and look and see some of the things that people have included here. Go ahead and create yourself the column headings you want inside of a sheet, and maybe put in one line of data so that we can create a table like this.
John, how do I open up Excel from where we are here?
Okay, so if you hit the Windows button at the bottom left, or hit the Windows button on your keyboard, you'll have an area to type to search. Type in EXCEL, and that should bring that up.
I can't get rid of the black bar at the bottom where the mute, stop video, participants chat. I've never been able to get rid of that black bar. What do I do so I can get to the bottom of my screen?
Go ahead and hit the Windows button, because that should bring up your Windows. On the key, hit the button on the keyboard. So it's on the bottom left and bottom bottom right on each side of the space bar.
What I'm telling you is that
I think he's in full screen mode. He needs to press escape so that he can see his status bar. So
all righty, escape does it.
Yeah,
oh, great.
Without a full screen, yeah, that's what your problem was.
Yvonne is asking, once you make the chart, how do you make another line to enter the next job information?
Okay. So, repeat that, Jeff.
Once you've made the chart, how did you make another line to enter the information to the next field? Just bring your cursor down to the next line, and then you can start typing. Right?
Okay.
And then hit tab.
Yeah. So if you're talking about adding a column, in this case on column E, if I wanted to add an additional date up here, and let's say I wanted a follow-up date, then I can type the field in here. Since it's right beside the table, it understands that that's supposed to be part of the table, and it goes ahead and includes it. And then if you want a row, one of the nice things about having it in a table is as you're tabbing over, you get to this very last cell in that row, in the bottom, in the last row. When I hit it one more time, notice it adds another row down there for me. And I can keep entering my data each time hitting the tab. When I get out to the right-hand side, I hit tab one more time, and it adds another row to it for it.
Are you entering return? Is that what you're hitting?
No, I'm hitting the tab key.
Where's the tab?
It is, the tab key is above
the tab key. Oh, tab. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Gotcha.
Yeah, the tab key. And that's one of the things that's nice about a table, because you've got this nice formatting and it continues it on for you. Just like other things, if I wanted to insert some columns in the middle, I can certainly select a couple here. Let's say I forgot to include data from yesterday. I can select however many rows I want to put in there and hit the insert, and it'll put those in there. Notice it reformatted the lines for me.
And how do you add another column to this table?
Go to the right-hand side of the table itself, to the next column outside the table, and type whatever the name of your heading is.
Or if you want to insert it, highlight like A, B, C, D, E, whatever, if you want to insert a column, and then you can hit D and then right click and click on insert.
Yeah, so we can come out here. Notice When I'm inside the table, an additional tab popped out here called Table Design. I neglected to mention this before because Table Design, when I click on it, notice it lets me change which table I'm looking at. So I can change my formatting of my table to something like this or a yellow, or I'll make it green, let's say. And so I can change that. The other thing I can do is I can put header rows, first column, etc. I can change a bunch of items here. And so this allows me to do the items here. Now, I'm going to highlight here below my table by a couple of lines, and I'm doing this intentionally. I'm changing the color to yellow. Now, make that a little smaller still so we can see all of that. If I select the entire column up at the top and I right click and I insert, notice that my yellow area got bigger as well. So it put a column all the way down to the bottom. If I have a bunch of other information in here that I don't want to reformat, that's inconvenient for me. I'm going to hit the undo at the top left, that little left arrow, to undo that. Because when I'm in a table, if I want to insert something, notice I come to the top of the column from inside. When I highlight this item here, see that little black arrow there? If you can see that, that will highlight only the table. And so now that I've got it highlighted, now that I had it highlighted, let's highlight it again. Yeah. Computer is misbehaving on me a little bit. I can go ahead and insert a column here. And so I can just insert the items inside the table. Here we go. And I'm going to insert a column to the left. Notice when I did that, my size of my data out here did not change. Same size. So I can add another column in here and we'll call it interview date. Okay.
How is that different from selecting column D and inserting a column?
If I click on D, it takes it all the way down to row 1,000,000. So notice this only has 2 columns highlighted down here in the yellow. If I insert it from up here, I now have 3. That's wider as well.
All righty. Thank you.
Yeah. And by the way, if you have nothing down there, if you don't have any data below your table, go ahead and hit the column because it's easier. Not a big deal.
What happens to the data below if you keep adding rows to your table? Does it keep pushing that data further down, or does it override it?
It will fill up the blank spaces that are between it and the other data, and then it will start pushing it down. Again, another nice thing about a table, but sometimes if I'm doing a lot of calculations in a table are more problematic until I learned how to do them. It's easier if you're filling out, say, a simple addition of numbers to actually use the point method and point to the cells you want to add, but it becomes more problematic on that one. So if I have a table and I just get so disgusted with it, I don't want it to be a table anymore. I want to go back to a list. Notice I've got a convert to range here. I can convert it back to a range. The formatting that's on this part stays. Anything I do after that will not be formatted that way. But I can have this nicely formatted, and if my boss doesn't like tables, I can remove the table very easily on that table tab. Because knowing how powerful tables are, I didn't use them for almost a decade because trying to write simple formulas in them was difficult if you're trying to use the keyboard to do it with. So, there are pros and cons to anything we do. So from that perspective, I chose to not use them until I found an easy way to do it.
Michelle's asking, how did you add the sort key to each column?
Okay, when I set the table up here, I went ahead and I'm going to put give Sandra a date of 10/1 here real quick, so I can have another date to make things different. When I set up a table, it on all the columns, it put this little pull down here. That's part of being a table. So one of the things I can do is I can sort by oldest to newest, newest to oldest, or I can sort by color. Now, since I've got color in the table, that doesn't mean anything. But if I had changed colors in given cells, and you'll see that in a little bit, that will allow us to do that will allow us to go from there. So I can sort it both ways. I can also filter it. So if I want to show only those items that are in October, I can turn that, take out December and say, okay, notice the blanks. I did leave blanks in there. So the blank cells, as well as Sandra Thomas's, is now been highlighted because those were the things I had to filter with. And then I can come back up here and I can now clear my filter and bring everybody else back.
Can you please enlarge your screen again?
Okay.
Thank you.
And again, this is the pull down. If you need me to make the screen bigger, other than just the text in the table, in the cells, I can do that, but it takes everything bigger. So it's kind of like where I move around the mouse, you only see a portion of the screen.
Let's go ahead and show us. We only got about 10 minutes left, so let's show us. I know you had a spreadsheet that had some more information on it.
Yeah. So in this
formatting.
case, I've got a couple of sheets here, and let me get back over to this. I see my time. I was able to fill up an hour and a half. I didn't think I'd do it. Yeah. So this is a sheet I started back in 2009, and I've kept the same format for a couple of reasons. But one of the things that's over here that was I kept only for demonstration purposes was the Texas Workforce Commission. And this column here was, is this contact something that I can count against for my unemployment? So I put a column in there right off the bat because every week or so I had to go ahead and bring that back into focus and count how and put down there specifically who I had contacted, how often. Now I use things to have color meaning on them. Ideally, each column has only one type of data in it. I violated that rule a little bit because I like to have something highlighting my weeks. So I have a little bit more of a visual indicator here. Notice I put the date at the very beginning. The type, is it business? Is it networking? I do volunteer work with the Boy Scouts. So some of my things is Boy Scouts, personal, business, job hunt, etc. I've got the contact, the company. Action for me is just what happened. Notice I sent somebody a congratulations on your new position as the director of training. And I also said, if you ever need help, let me know. And then when he replied back to that, I changed the color of the text. I just came out here and I came to the end and changed the color to blue. And then I typed in, his comment. So I could see that he commented on that. When on some things, I've used the color to show that if something is gray, or it means it's closed. If it is yellow over here on the dates, it means it's past due. And so if I've got a date here, notice I've list the date. I also list how am I going to follow up on that. I'm going to look for his posts out on the internet and then send some of them off to one of my bosses at the college. So if I type in a date here of today's date, let's say, or into the future, let's say 12/15, I want to do this. it comes back as normal. But time marches on. So as time moves by and this date suddenly becomes into the past, that becomes yellow automatically. I have the items here set so that if I change this to action required, let's say, it becomes bright yellow. How I did that was on the home tab, the styles group. I'm going to select only one of these cells just to keep things a little bit simple. You can select an entire column, excluding the headings, by the way. Come over here to the home tab, styles group, conditional formatting. I can add rules of when to highlight it. So I can highlight it if a cell is equal to something, if it contains certain data. And so in this case, if it contains the word action, I made it yellow. If it included the word thank, I made it pink because I think of a thank you card or a Valentine's card. And so I'm going to come down here to show you some of the rules that I manage on this. And so working might be green, done might be blue. We already talked about thank you and action. And so I can color code those. But if you don't want to do that, you can simply make the things color coded yourself. And so you can just use a color to mean it and then just manually change the fill color. Initially, that's the way I handled it. And then one of the things you can then do is filter only on certain things. So I can filter, I can sort by color, but I can also filter by color. And so if I only want to see items that are of this color, let's say, it highlights, it gets rid of everything else except the words that something that has action in the item here. Okay. And again, come up here, highlight that, and I'll clear that out. Okay. So that's called conditional formatting. We've got the items here. You can see that I've got I use a function on the far right to a nested function to fill these in with the year, month, and day, depending on which one it is. And I do other reporting based on that on other sheets. So most of the time, keep it simple on this one. This is kind of what I've used for the years. There are better options here. Some of you have them, no doubt. But I got the habit of using this one, and I chose to just go ahead and leave it, and then we can talk about it. Okay. All right. I'd be curious about what some of you have done on your sheets. Someone willing to share their screen with us?
If somebody wants to show their Excel spreadsheet, you can share your screen. Just go down, hover over the bottom, it'll say share screen, and then you can select your Excel spreadsheet and then hit yes, and it will be able to see it if you want to share.
I get you cannot share screen while others are participating.
Go ahead and you can hit the yes, you want to overwrite that. It's just a warning saying that somebody else is, it's saying you, here you go.
I stopped my share.
Okay. Who was going to share? Stephen?
Sure, I'll share. Hold on here. Let me get to it. If someone this is the first time I'm going to share something, so if someone knows how to do this and wants to share, please, because I'm going to muck my way through this right now, because I don't know how to do that.
So you click share screen and it'll come a thing and it'll have a whole bunch of different screens on it. Pick your Excel spreadsheet if you already have it open, and then hit OK in the lower right-hand corner.
Here we
go. Go.
Can you see it?
There it is.
Okay. So I just put this together right now. I always like to keep a track of the number. And then even though it's, pretty apparent, the company, the date, I like the type that John was talking about. So I included that. Source was a good one that I got from the group. And then contact, did I get an interview, just basic information, what was the position and what's happened.
Yeah. And again, you have a URL here. If you chose to have a sheet for company, you could put the URL and the company name over on another sheet, or you can you can keep it here.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, this, with my background, this is pretty standard, Excel tracking of things. So yeah, this was easy to do.
All right.
But I did learn about the formatting. I've never done that before. So, and then the color code. So that was good. Anything else? I mean, does anyone have any input or anything I should add or anything?
To whatever makes it easy for
going
you.
once, going twice, going 3 times, done. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Somebody else.
How do I stop sharing now?
There should be a red button that says stop share.
Stop share. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Anybody else like to share?
Be bold, be brave. Otherwise, you see my face. God help us.
Stephen, thank you. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Well, I think, everybody can just want to play with this. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You can make it as complicated as you want. I know when I teach the thing called the job search scorecard, there's an Excel spreadsheet that one gentleman came out with, and he was an Excel guru. His Excel spreadsheet had like 15 different sheets. They all linked to each other. He had a home page that pulled information from other things. So, this is what he did to sort of keep his Excel skills up to date. So,
And I've done that too. And what I'll tell you to start off with is keep it simple. You don't have to put the conditional formatting. You can just simply change the color and then just have a set of rules in your own head of what you do. On the ones I had, I only did the one cell. But then once a month or something, I'll go out there and everything I'll filter it. So I only see the items that are closed, but the whole row has not been made gray. And so I'll then gray out the entire row of everything that I've closed that month. And that allows the whole line to be gray, makes it less obvious even that those are things I need to look at.
Right. Well, John, thank you very, very much. We're just about out of time here. Let me just throw a couple of slides here at the very end. Next Friday, our last meeting of the year, taxes, things to think about when employed. Susan Holly is a senior tax advisor at HR Block, and she'll be with us to talk about that. Let's see here, next slide. Hopefully everybody has put in their 30-second reductions in the chat box or on the comment field on Facebook. And like I said, I will delete those. The personal information on Facebook, I will delete right after this meeting. But if you haven't, please put in your name, phone number, email address, position you're looking for, a couple target companies, and then hit the return key. That way, I'll put all that information out this afternoon. I will send out invitations to everybody again to join the new Yahoo group or the new groups.io group, the group. So that'll come out again this afternoon and this weekend. So be looking for that. So as Yahoo groups are disappearing. Next week, next Tuesday at 1 o'clock, our LinkedIn Tuesday, Luck Alderson will be with us to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies that gets results. On Wednesday, our special guest interview speaker series for Interviewing Wednesday, the 10 biggest mistakes that people make while interviewing with Tony Bashira. Should be a fascinating presentation. As Elvin said earlier, Tony says it the way it is, and he interviews people every day. That's because that's what his job is. And then on Thursday, we have our effective resume Thursday. And like I said, Carol will be giving away a session to work with her for a career workshop to be able to some one-on-one training with her. Just as a reminder, this session has been recorded. It will be on the Career at FW Facebook page, and later this afternoon, I'll upload it to the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll find out about every time we load something up new. On Facebook, on YouTube, this is what it happens to look like. Just click on playlist and don't click on the video, but click on where that red arrow is where it says view full playlist. And then you'll be able to see a list of all the different programs that we put together by title. And then that way you can find the thing that you'd like to go back and view over, and you can view it as many times as you'd like. So thank you very much for joining us today. John, thank you again. Great information. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great weekend.
I'll do the same. Thanks again.